let's do us a favor. Let's flip scripts here now, because Dr. Brook on the block is a huge deal. And I know
Yes.
you understand blockchain. I know you understand crypto. It's kind of funny because a lot of chiros during COVID decided
Yeah.
to become cryptors. So
Yeah.
they decided to go down like the crypto path and like chiropractic and dabble in things and like give advice. And everybody had advice on let's jump into Bitcoin and let's jump into
Yeah.
Ethereum and maybe we
Right.
should put our toe into over here. And but I think one of the biggest things is what we've seen is the parity of finances in an actual currency based structure is
Yeah.
that they're always changing. So can you give us a little background on Dr. Brook on the block and where you've gotten this education? Because you spoke on a pretty awesome stage a couple
Yeah.
months ago with Gary Vaynerchuk, correct?
Yes. Yes. Yep.
So tell me a
Absolutely.
little bit about this experience, what led up to that, and where are you at now?
So it's actually a really interesting, funny story. A friend of mine who I've known for like 15 years, we went to church together since we were like 18. And he comes in, I had left to the Bay Area to go to chiropractic school. I came back to San Diego. He comes in as a patient, um, and is just going on and on and on about this token. You got to buy this token. You got to, and I'm trying to treat him, right? Like he's got all this low back issue and all he's lying on the table, just token, token, token. And I'm like, mind you, I had had a few different touch points with the whole crypto space in grad school. Like some of the students in grad school, you need to invest in Ethereum. I'm like, well, tell me about it. What is it? Like, we're on student loan budgets. Tell me why I need to do this. Could not give me good answers. So here we are, fast forward out of school, and this guy's blah 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 blah. And at this point, I was just like, oh my god, I'm gonna check this guy's box. I'm gonna like put $100 in, and I'm just gonna let it alone because now I'm in practice. I'm not a student living off the government, right? And so I was like, I'll just put in $100. If I lose it, no big deal. Like whatever, right? So I don't think much of it. Like I put the $100 in every couple weeks. I would check it. It would be like $107 and then 97, and then we'd be like going up and down, up and down. It was nothing. And then there was this one particular day where I walk into a grocery store with my daughter in tow, like normal grocery shopping day, nothing like at all out of the ordinary. And I believe in intuition so heavily. Like I believe that we do truly have this guidance system within us that's housed within us that will give us clear answers. A lot of times we get so inundated with the noise all around us that we fail to like stop and slow down and listen to the voice inside. But I had this intense, like, come through my body that was like, you need to buy more of that token. Like, all of a sudden, there was nothing in the grocery store that ever triggered. It wasn't like I had seen something that made me think of it, just walked right in. You need to buy more of that token. So, needless to say, I spent the whole grocery store outing. My daughter's pushing the cart around. She knows all the stuff to get. I've educated her food labels and those kind of things. She knows what to look for. So, I'm kind of there but not present because I'm trying to operate this crypto exchange app to buy more of this token because I never interacted with it except for the first initial purchase, and then kind of forgot about it other than looking at it. So I was like, okay, I'm going to put in another $100 because I'm just trusting this guidance system that just came upon me, right? Like I'm not going to shut this down. This happened. I'm doing this thing. And I always tell patients they need to trust themselves. So I have to practice what I preach, right?
Yeah, you got to be congruent.
Totally. So I put the $100 in. So now I got $200 on this token. The very next morning I wake up and that token is up 60%. And then it's just climbing, 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 climbing. So that $200 over the course of 3 days turned into $1,500. And I said, okay, whew, like I had to kind of like come up, like I was just like, oh my God, this is so crazy, like wow, like wild, whatever. But I need to take this a step backwards, tiny step backwards. I call myself a certified dynamic system analysis practitioner. Dynamic system analysis is the body of work in which my mentor doc, who I work for, built upon applied kinesiology, clinical kinesiology, and now this. Part of dynamic system analysis is understanding how like all of the pieces of the body work together, all the different nerves that go to different organs. We talk about enzymes and all these different things. I know mentally, like I use my logical brain on understanding that. But there's an aspect of intuition tied to it to be able to communicate with the human body. So I said, okay, well, I can't base all of my investment decisions on intuition. I need to actually understand what this crypto stuff is like, and nobody could give me really great answers. So at that point, after those 3 days of just climb, and it stayed pretty, it stayed at a consistent climb for a while there before we entered a bear market, which, we're in right now. Um, but I said, I need to learn about this stuff. And so I went down the rabbit hole and I literally like just consumed all different sorts of YouTube videos. I watched Gary Vee's content. You hear a lot of words or lexicon in the space that people start to throw out almost to just make themselves sound smarter than they really are. And it's
like in the chiropractic world.
Yes, yes. Oh my God, that's such a great like connection point. Yes, totally. And so I kind of had to filter through the garbage. And then I recognized like into the latter part of 2021. So I made that initial first purchase in January of 2021. And then it was about May is when I got that intuitive hit. And then I kind of went down the rabbit hole from May all the way till the end of 2021, where I was like, I need to actually teach this stuff because this truly is, when you understand what is happening here, this is the greatest transfer of wealth in human history. This is where so many people are going to be able to make millions and millions and millions and life-changing wealth if they do it correctly. This is not about, FOMOing or fear of missing out, like getting into projects because Skip told you to do it, or because Brooke told you to do it, or because your brother's sister's girlfriend told you to do it. It's getting into projects because you fundamentally believe that this is where things are going and you have conviction. You only build conviction in a project when you know what's happening and who they are and how to do proper research. So this is where I came out and I was like, okay, well, I'm going to be Dr. Brooke on the block. I call myself, it's funny you say that, I call myself the chiropractor. So I kind of bring in crypto and chiropractic and blend the two words, the chiropractor, and I'm teaching people how to really truly understand things. And so on that, I want to say a lot of people, freak out, oh, Bitcoin's going to zero and all this is, fraud. And they hear mainstream media talking about, a big, huge exchange falling apart and all these things, like everything going up in smoke. What they fail to realize is that is like going back into the pre-internet days and talking about certain websites that are blowing up and not making it. Foot Locker, bad example, but they were the first ones that popped up in my mind. Like Foot Locker, imagine Foot Locker coming out with a website and then the website they go under. Well, that doesn't do away with the entire internet just because Foot Locker goes out of business.
Yeah, just because American Online isn't around anymore.
There you go. That's a better one. Just because AOL is not in existence, or MySpace, we can even use.
MySpace is perfect. Yeah.
It does not mean the internet is not a thing. And that is what I want people to understand is blockchain technology. That is why it's called Dr. Brooke on the block and not Dr. Brooke does crypto, because crypto is built on top of the blockchain.
Crypto's built on the blockchain.
Ethereum, all of those are built on top of a blockchain. Blockchain technology is where it is at. And if you understand blockchain technology and how all the pieces fit together, which I did put together, by the time this is going to be released, there will be an educational video on understanding blockchain technology and how the pieces fit together. So you can do adequate research and understand this in a much better way.
Well, it's super important because it's a couple things. Number one, you can get paralysis by overanalysis.
Yes.
And if you're trading and buying into crypto,
yes.
crypto is 100% a zero sum game. So if I'm making it somewhere, somebody else is losing it. There's only so much of it to go around, depending on how it's being mined, put together, run by whatever, however you want to go down it. But it's the technology that sits underneath it that allows it to be traded, moved back and forth, and invested in is what's running the whole show. It's exactly, the internet just didn't freaking shut down because MySpace doesn't exist and Napster went to crap. Like everything's still here. And now look at what's happened built on those original platforms that is still running You look at Napster back in the late 90s, early 2000s. So I'm going to date myself. That's college. Okay. My brother had the largest freaking server of music. You wouldn't believe that he was downloading from Napster. Okay. He threw the best house parties ever in college. Like
You guys got all the playlists going.
Crazy good playlists all on his gateway computer.
Oh my God, I remember gateway
right?
computer.
So it's all there. But here's the thing that led to Apple going off onto iTunes.
Right.
That led to now Amazon. That's led to Spotify. And now it's leading into a potential company coming up called Queued Up, which is going to blow up and change that entire world again. So here's the deal is that the blockchain itself is the technology that everything sat on. And that's where banking will be going. If things move through as they should. And then you're always going to be backed up against, though, the world and central bank. So what's your thought on that, Dr. Brook, with centralizing currency?
Yeah, my thought on that is I tell people, it's something they should be very fearful of. And that is why I've become even more passionate about educating people around this space, especially with the type of market conditions that we're in with high
Inflation?
Inflation. Why can't I get my word out right now?
It's okay.
Especially with high inflation right now and, like housing markets collapsing and all these things that are happening, right? We're living in this economic distress going on. And what the mainstream, and we talk about how mainstream presents chiropractic in a very negative light. We talk about how mainstream presents a lot of really cutting edge technology in a negative light because there's no money for the big companies to be making on that. And that's exactly what they're doing in the crypto blockchain space. So when you hear about these things happening, like an FTX exchange going under and billions of dollars, that is mismanagement on their part, but it's also mismanagement on the users' parts who were engaged with FTX and not taking custody of their own assets, which is a whole different discussion. With the central bank digital currencies, and the Federal Reserve is already working on enacting this in the United States. This is very, very scary for us as citizens because this is a way to be able to control what we spend our money on. Okay.
Yeah, so the lemonade stands are gone.
What was that?
If this happens, you're not going to be able to stop and buy a lemonade from a kid trying to just make 25 cents. It just ain't
not at all. Every single transaction you do will be watched and viewed, and they will be determined if that is okay or not. They will be giving you a certain asset or a certain amount for food, and if you don't spend that on food, then you'll be penalized, and you'll be whatever it is. It's going to be the allocation on how they do things. Of course they're going to make it look like it's the savior to whatever else is happening in the crypto space, because frankly it is the wild west right now. And this is why I tell people, educate yourself, because it doesn't have to be the wild west when but that is what the CBDC, what the Federal Reserve is doing right now, is trying to make crypto look psycho crazy and make them look like the god that needs to save them from all this craziness. And you will literally go hook, line, and sinker into the most disruptive, negative thing, almost demonic. And I'm sorry to say that, but it is very, very scary.
It is. And it's not to rabbit hole on this, but Hollywood's been putting this in front of our faces for over 3 decades since movie Sling Blade came out. You can't, anytime you look at anything that's modern world, everything's a centralized government. It's a centralized credit system. It's a centralized time-based system. And it's controlled 100%. I mean, you think the Hunger Games was just made up? There are, and I'm not trying to ruin my credibility here, but as chiropractors, we are counterintuitive people. We're contrarians by nature. So we're always designed to think outside of the box and not just follow along with what everybody's just doing, because that's not how our mind works. It hasn't worked since 1895. Okay.
Right.
That our minds went that way immediately. But the thing is with this is that when we look at all of it, is there's always going to be a distraction, whether we see it in healthcare. We saw it during the pandemic and COVID. There was a lot of things going on behind the scenes. What was watching how we were reacting as a society, how controllable were we, how quickly could they make things shut down, speed up, make people mask, make people do things, and just follow along. And they needed to see a certain percentage follow along for a certain amount of time to let them know whether or not this was going to work. So the same thing is happening in the crypto space. So Dr. Brook, when we're talking about the blockchain, can you talk a little bit on the blockchain a little bit? Because some people don't quite understand it. I'm not an expert in it myself.
Okay.
Can you talk a little bit on the blockchain and what's going on there?
Yes. So the blockchain technology, like in simplest terms, can be defined as like just a distributed network of computers. So if you think of your most, like, let's think about our chiropractic offices. And for those of you who are not in chiropractic, maybe just think of the office or your workplace in which you work. That information that's stored at your workplace is stored on servers, like on the computer or in your offices in that location. Now, God forbid an act of God comes through, a tornado, a hurricane, a fire, like any sort of disruptive thing, and your entire database is wiped clean.
Servers
no
are
records, no nothing. It's centralized. It's in one location. Now, most of all of what's been going on currently before blockchain technology has all been these really big centralized areas. Now, I think about the central bank because they're a centralized banking system. Everything is housed in one area, but that could be for any corporation and so forth. With blockchain technology, these quote unquote databases are spread all across the globe. Now, this is, when somebody says, oh, the US government's going to shut down crypto, they can't shut down crypto because it is global. Like they're going to control El Salvador and India and all these other countries. Like please. But these distributed ledgers across the globe are housing that data. So if my computer goes down here in California or Skip's goes down in Wisconsin, the data is still being housed in these distributed ledgers all across the globe, which also creates a system where nothing can be changed. So once a transaction is done on the digital ledger or the distributed ledger, it cannot be changed, because if Skip tries to be shady and says, you know what, I'm going to try to steal Brooks $5,000 worth of Ethereum and I'm going to move this transaction, it will notify every single computer out there that this transaction was shifted and changed, and it's going to be known immediately, and that's going to be kind of pulled back. So all in all, the best way, like that's just kind of like a little simple rundown. The best way I like to help people understand what blockchain is this. So currently in 2022, we have 861 different blockchains. Now, these are all these different blockchains popping up in the space. This is why it creates so much confusion, because people are like, oh, I heard someone say buy Ethereum, but why is this person talking about Solana? And now this person's talking about Tezos. Like, what's going on? Think of it like this. We have probably 193 different countries that make up the globe, make up Earth, right? All these different countries, if you look at those countries as different blockchains, you can say, okay, well, we have the United States, we have Mexico, we have Canada, we have all of these areas. Those are different blockchains. Well, what is cryptocurrency? Cryptocurrency is the currency, the monetary system in which those countries run. So Ethereum has their own coin because Ethereum is their own country. They are their own blockchain. So they have a token, a coin that you use when you use the Ethereum blockchain.
So if a country doesn't manage itself correctly, it goes to shit and goes under.
Exactly.
Same thing.
Exactly.
Yep.
And then where you get, all of the other pieces, you may have heard terms like NFTs. People talk about NFTs.
Yeah, non-fungible tokens. Yep.
Yeah, like decentralized finance protocols. All of these things are built on top of those blockchains, or they're like companies. I always say they're like companies within the country. So in the United States, we have Starbucks and we have Target and we have those. Those would be like, Target would be its own NFT project built in the United States, and different things. And then those NFT projects have their own tokens, a lot of times their own cryptocurrency that you can buy into. So when someone tells you, oh, buy this token, when I'm telling people to do research is find out what blockchain that token exists on. If you have fundamental beliefs in Ethereum, that Ethereum is going to be the top dog and it's going to make it, and you see a token built on Ethereum, you can put a little extra trust in that token and say, okay, well, maybe let me do a little bit more due diligence.
There's been a lot of talk behind that specific blockchain.
Yes.
And not to promote one project, but that's all a lot of people have talked about for a very long time. And I'm talking in the crypto world, 12 months to 16 months, is the blockchain that Ethereum's built on versus the blockchain that Bit is built on, or that, Wolfie's token or whatever you want to talk about is built on.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely.
And I'm loving this conversation. This is awesome. So Dr. Brook, this has been an absolute delight. So from a chiropractic perspective, and some of these young docs that are out there listening, and I mean, young docs, it's like you graduated in 2019. What are just some quick words going out? If you were to make some recommendations, I'm not expecting you to, keep in mind, Dr. Brook and I are not financial planners. This is not our profession. We are chiropractors. We do not give financial advice. What are some of the things that you would recommend if a chiro wanted to start dabbling into this space and understanding it? Where are some areas that you suggest they look?
Well, as a shameless plug, but not a shameless plug, I'm going to tell them to go check out Dr. Brook on the Block podcast. I have stuff on YouTube. Like I said, by the time this gets dropped, the whole blockchain 101 video will be on my YouTube channel. So that's a place to really kind of understand more fundamentally what's happening. But then there's all other resources like CoinMarketCap. I wouldn't say like look there for be all end all, but just kind of get an idea of it. It's a place that you can do some research. So you can just click on different like coins that could have funny names, and you can read about the team, and you can see their price history, and you could see what chains they're built on and what they're doing. And you really kind of, the more you spend time in the area, the more you're going to learn. And when I say spend time, I'm not saying like take out, like basically stop your career and then dedicate yourself full time to this. I'm saying 3 to 5 times a week, 15 minutes a day. Like it doesn't require a lot of work. And turning on a podcast episode, once in a while, like could even have tremendous benefits for you.
Well, as a person that has his own educational company and like teaches doctors how to take care of families and children, I 100% agree. And it's literally 15 minutes every couple days to make yourself better and better. And then before you know it, your head starts thinking like an expert. And I can clearly see that with you and the amount of knowledge. And it's been an absolute honor. I feel I'm like second connected to Gary Vee because he spoke on stage with that animal. And you're phenomenal. And it's just, what are some of the easiest ways for our community here to get a hold of you? I know you have Dr. Brook on the Block with your podcast. What else? What are other avenues that you would like to be gotten a hold of, Dr. Brook?
I am on all social media channels, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, all of them under Dr. Brook Sheehan. And that's just DRBROOK, no E, I have to specify, SHEEHAN.
I love it. Yeah. No E except for the last names. Okay.
Exactly. No E on Brook. Everybody wants to add that E. I'm like, nope, it's gone.
E on Brook. That's what makes me Brook. I love it.
Yes.
And this has been an absolute pleasure and delight. And I will tell you, this is one of the funnest interviews I've had in a very, very long time. You're wonderful. And thank you so much for coming on, Dr. Brook. I look forward to having more conversations with you in the very near future. I can promise you that. And I wish you nothing but success, and just keep doing what you're doing. I can feel you from here, and you're absolutely amazing. So thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me, Skip.
You are so welcome. Now, everyone out there, go out there, get it done. Take care, everybody. Bye.